All right, back with part 4. Now, where we left off at, we're going to pick back up. So, where we left off at is when they was taking Yahusha into the palace. Okay? They was taking him into the palace so they can get ready to question him. Who? The Pharisees and the high priests and stuff, right? Okay. Now, when they were questioning him, what they wanted to know was, what about your doctrine, this and that and the third. Now, while he was up in there, Kepha or Peter, he didn't go in. I don't think he could go in, or he wasn't allowed to go in, but the other disciple went in or whatever because he was known by the high priest. Correct? Okay. So, there's this little girl who's watching the door. Okay? She's watching the door. And she, you know how kids is. Little children tell the truth. They ain't got no filter. So she looking at Kepha or Peter, and she's like, I know you. You one of those guys that hang with that guy that's in the palace named Yahusha. Yeah, you're one of his disciples. And Kepha's eyes got big, and he's like, no, I'm not. Uh-oh, Kepha. Remember what Yahusha told you. Before the rooster crows, you have been denied him 3 times. But Kepha was the main one. It was like, no, Yahusha, I'm rocking with you till the wheels fall off. I got you. I don't cut that man's ear off for you. But Yahusha knew. He knew. He knew what was coming. He knew that Peter went about what he said at that time. Okay? This is why I said before in part 3, why Yahusha told us to put our trust in no man, but in the Most High. We can trust in Abba, and we can trust in Him. Let's keep going. So, we're still in chapter 18 of the book of John. And I says, the betrayal. All because, and this is why Peter denied Yahusha. I said, wow, the betrayal. All because he got scared after seeing what they did to you. Peter was scared. He got so scared because he seen the way that them police officers and the military, and when I say they sent everybody to go and arrest Yahusha, that's how scared the Seharim, how you say it, the Pharisees and the high priest, that's how scared they was of Yahusha's authority, y'all. And not only that, they was afraid that if they lost control and Yahusha just, you know what I'm saying, like he is when he comes with, you know what I'm saying, that the Romans was going to take their power, their place, and them being a nation. Strip them of everything. Right? Because they were never, let me hush, gotta be careful. And along with all of that came the palace, the wealth, the comfortable living, and keeping their foot on our neck. Right? Now, so, in John 18, verses 19 through 20, the high priest, the high priest going to ask you about your disciples and your teachings. And I said, you flat out told them, you said it just like them. I'm going to say it but they got it written in the YT version. But we know Yahusha was an Israelite, like us. So I'm going to say it the way he would have sounded like, okay? He said this right here. I said, you flat out told them. Did I ever speak? Not one time did I ever teach in the synagogues or the temples where them so-called Jews always resort to. I never went in them places. You never seen me go in them places. Matter of fact, I was out in the open. I taught out in the open. Well, the whole entire world could see me. Okay? He said, I never spoke in any secret place. I was talking in secret. And then he says, and I said, you're right. You did everything out in the open. I said, for all the world to see and hear. And then in John 18 verse 21, he asked the high priest, because like I said, at this time, this is why they was in there questioning him. And during the time of their questioning, this whole little scenery was going on outside with this little girl saying, "Oh, I recognize you. Ain't your name Peter or Kepha? You one of Yahusha's disciples." "Yes, you will." And he all like that denying Yahusha, while Yahusha getting questioned by the high priest and the Pharisees up in this nice little wealthy little palace. Sorry about that, y'all. But anyways, so the whole time Peter was out there denying HAMASHIACH, while HAMASHIACH in here getting questioned by these so-called Jews. Okay, now, so Yahusha goes on. He asked, the high priest or the Pharisees. He was like, I said, "You ask them, why y'all asking me? Go ask the ones that heard what I said to them. They know what I said." And I said, "You right about that. You right, Yahusha. Why are they questioning you when they can go out and ask all the people that you healed, about your teachings, about your disciples, about whether or not you called yourself the Most High Yah, and that you were making yourself be Allahaya? Why don't you go and ask?" But remember, back here in Mark, they had no witnesses. In Mark chapter 15, verse, I think, 53, they had no witnesses. So they start getting people to bear false witness against HAMASHIACH, telling lies, which is another law that they broke in the commandments when the Bible says in the Torah, or the Tarayah, "For thou shalt not bear false witness against thy neighbor." But these people claim to be the people. No, y'all not. We are. We knew the law and we kept it. Yahusha knew the law and he kept it, including the feast days. And y'all, while all this was going on, all of this was going on through Passover. All of this happened to him during Passover. Let's keep going. Okay? So, then all of a sudden, this cop, because in the scriptures it say officer. We know what an officer is. It ain't no a man with a skirt on with all this breastplate thing on. No. We know what an officer is. It's a cop. The boys in blue. That we know what's going on. So a cop comes up and has the audacity to slap HAMASHIACH in his face. All because he asked those so-called high priests a question. "Why are you asking me? Why don't you go ask those people that I healed? Why don't you go and ask these people?" So then, and the reason why the cop slapped him in the face, I'm talking about slapped him hard. Bow! He says, the cops go to say, talking about, "Is that how you gonna answer the high priest?" And it was just like HAMASHIACH said something bad or wrong to the high priest. All he did was ask him a question. Like, why are you asking me all these questions when you can go ask the people, who follow me? Go ask my disciples what I teach. Go and ask the people that I heal what I teach. Go and ask these folks. They can tell you for themselves. Why are you asking me when you don't, you don't even believe? I thought I was here because of this and because of that. Why are you asking me? Go and ask those people. Where your witnesses at? That I did anything wrong. Okay? So, and like I told him, I said, I like what you said to them. Because in John 18:23, you asked the cop, "Why you hit me for? I haven't said nothing out the way to the high priest, and you standing right here looking at me." But of course, the YT way, we're going to come back to this because my time is running out. And part 5 coming up next.